One of the most common problems that many Satisfactory players face is burnout and a lack of motivation, especially as you get into the later phases of the game. So in this Satisfactory news video, I'm going to talk about how to avoid burnout and boost your motivation while playing. And to get some great answers for this, I crowdsourced. I don't have my own Discord server, but I do have a channel in the Coffee Cup Discord server. I've talked about Coffee Cup before. It's the community around the Satisfactory shitposting king, Doug, and the crazy projects his team works on, like the factory cart tower climb I covered, or the upcoming Explorer race. Anyways, if you join the server at discord.gg/coffeecupstudios and choose to join the Satisfactory News channel, you can chat with me there about video ideas and witness Doug roast me in real time. So thanks to everyone already there for your suggestions, and with that little plug out of the way, let's continue. I want to start also by saying on a slightly more serious note about this topic that things like ADHD are pretty common among this community, and something that this game does is that it makes it both incredibly helpful and incredibly detrimental to those living with attention issues. So some of these tips might be tailored towards the ADHD havers among us, and are given by people who have to manage their ADHD while playing this game. So with that said, let's dive into the tips. Plan ahead. This tip comes from Quantum Star 101 on Discord. Not everyone is naturally a planner, but to stay motivated, you first need to have a goal. There are plenty of goals built into the game for the sake of progression, but there's a long time in between some of them, and most players go on their fair share of side quests that distract them from the main missions. I would say always have at least one, but preferably a few, major projects in mind. And this might happen naturally, it's just a matter of writing it down. And I would say work backwards from a final advanced product and build the sub-factories, but never lose sight of the larger goal. Take it piece by piece and you can kind of break it down like that to make it more manageable. Use third-party tools. This tip comes from Odysseus2 and Nutter Butter Goat on Discord. The tip about planning ahead goes perfectly into this next tip, which is to use third-party tools. These can be a fantastic aid when you need to plan a massive project, and there are some great ones out there. Satisfactory Calculator and Satisfactory Modeler are some of my personal favorites, but there's plenty others that you can use. And it's great to comb through the interactive map and look at resource nodes, figure out where your next factory should be, or you can plan your next production line with an easy drag and drop flowchart rather than trying to make sense of it in your head or constantly erasing things with pencil and paper. Using these tools can give you a unique bird's eye view of the game, breaking the normal first-person perspective that can sometimes feel overwhelming and make you feel all small and stuff. This is especially helpful if you're a visual person like I am, and trying to juggle all those production lines in your head is just too much. Blueprints. This tip comes from Captain Sillyfrog on Discord. Blueprints are obviously a no-brainer when it comes to relieving some of the pain of building the same thing over and over and over again. And doing that, while therapeutic for some, is definitely a cause of burnout for a lot of players. I always suggest building blueprints for common setups for things like ingots and basic materials, since you're going to be building these a lot and there's not really a lot of variation you need to worry about. I also suggest blueprints perhaps even more so for your decorative items. Nudging signs and other items is super tedious, and thanks to the way snapping sometimes works, it can be difficult to make the same thing twice in the exact same way. So once you've got a design nailed down, please blueprint it and save your sanity. This will save you from burning out on repetitive, tedious building. On the flip side, you can also use the creation of blueprints as a way to avoid burnout. Take a break from your normal gameplay and give yourself a new challenge, figuring out how much you can fit into the blueprint designer. Especially as you unlock the bigger blueprint designers, you can translate your designs into new, bigger sizes. But it's very fun and a totally different kind of puzzle to make super dense factories, and I highly recommend it as a change of pace that will also help you through the game at all stages. Work on smaller factories. This tip comes from IbblesDev on Discord. It's easy to get tunnel vision on a major project, and if it's too big, it might feel like it just never ends. And maybe some of them never do. So go check on your old factories and see where you can improve them and bring them up to speed. Maybe you've unlocked Mark V belts recently and you can go back to an early factory that's still using Mark IIIs and modify it to make use of your new belts. Or if you're like me, you'll find something that's broken and spend a few hours fixing it. This change of pace can be helpful because it lets you flex your problem-solving muscles in different ways. It also gives you more things that you can be proud of as the game goes on, and you don't have to worry about that little old factory that's all embarrassing in the corner of the map. Let go of perfection. This tip comes from Neuromancer on Discord. Satisfactory players can often hyper-focus on making things perfect, whether it's perfect production ratios, perfect architecture, or a perfectly flat power graph. Sometimes it can just be a breath of fresh air to let go of perfectionism. Because when you burn out from perfectionism, it feels like giving up, and giving up can feel awful. So instead of constantly shooting for perfection, try to aim for functional. This is especially true if you're eternally stuck in the mid-game like so many players are. The game can become a slog at a certain point, and trying to get things perfect every time can stretch that even further. Don't be afraid to move on from half-finished buildings and come back later. When I put out my world tour video a couple weeks ago, it's crazy how much I use the phrase "in progress." Almost all of my factories are in progress, whether it's their functionality or just their aesthetics. And that's okay. I was willing to show them off even though they're not done. If you're not in love with it, leave it as a functional but unfinished state and come back later when you feel passionate about it again. This game may feel like a second job sometimes, but you don't have to treat it like one, and you should still enjoy yourself when you play it, and feel free to work on what you think is worth working on. Decorate. This tip comes from Uberfast McLaren, Mad Design, and Stubborn Aegis on Discord. Satisfactory is not just a factory game, it's also an architecture game, and a whole bunch of other things that you may see on Reddit. The Awesome Shop has a ton of cosmetic items, and you can make most items any color or material that you'd like. So make use of all the customization features and encase your open-air factories in cool buildings. Personally, I like trying to give each factory its own unique style, both inside and out, rather than just doing the same thing every time, since that would just be a different flavor of tedium. But if you like the idea of making your world consistent, then you can do that too. One thing I like to do is get inspiration from other places. For anyone who watches I'm Kibitz, you'll know how influential brutalism architecture can be, especially with the proliferation of concrete in the game. I've mentioned before how Cyberpunk 2077 has inspired some of my buildings. Apex Legends is another for me because, come on, look me in the eye and tell me some of these buildings don't look like they're made in Satisfactory. Another thing you can do is roleplay yourself into a cool design. You don't need to make things presentable to beat the game, but if you put in the extra effort to create walkable factories, turn factory machines into display pieces rather than just making a tasteless row, or figure out how you might vent your exhaust fumes, it can give you some very satisfying side quests that will leave you with a final product you can be really proud of. Take a break. This tip comes from Agarar and Stubborn Aegis on Discord. You're allowed to take breaks from Satisfactory, despite what Fixit and Ada might think. The devs even added in warnings every couple hours because it's obvious how addictive this game is. It is so hard to stop playing precisely because projects never truly end. I mean, what do you even consider as a good stopping point in this game? There really isn't one. So go touch grass, take a walk outside, or even just play a different game for a while if you want to stay indoors. Playing Satisfactory in smaller sessions rather than just jamming this addictive drug straight into your bloodstream in one go might be healthy for your overall relationship with the game if you're experiencing issues around motivation and burnout. If you feel yourself getting frustrated, just step away and come back later. Or for the real gamers out there, as Discord member Blumo suggested, burn yourself out on Satisfactory, then go burn yourself out on a different game, and then get back on Satisfactory. I like that one. That sounds good to me. Acknowledge your progress. This tip comes from Stubborn Aegis on Discord. You can be your own worst enemy sometimes, and Stubborn Aegis did a great job breaking down how to overcome the feelings of anxiety and being overwhelmed that can come with the later stages of Satisfactory, so I'll try to put it into my own words here. First of all, recognize the effort that you have poured into your save. Appreciate the aspects that you're proud of and have completed, rather than dwelling on what comes next. To use a famous phrase from one of my favorite book series, it's about journey before destination. Take pride into the builds that you've already done, because they are in some ways more important than what your world looks like when it's finally done. They're the building blocks you needed to get there, and they're important. It's easy to lose sight of how far you've come since making Planetfall, and realizing what you've created can be really motivating for future projects. Just look at how much you've already done. Again, with my world tour video I did recently, it really opened my eyes to how much I've already covered this world, and extracted its resources. It was more than I expected, especially when I looked at my playtime of only 200 hours. Just do something, even if it's the wrong thing. This tip comes from none other than I'm Kibitz, when I asked him on one of his streams what his one-sentence advice would be for avoiding burnout. He knows a thing or two about playing the game for long periods of time and working on massive projects, and his play sessions are probably longer than a lot of people's. And yeah, his simple advice was just to do something, even if that's the wrong thing. Have you ever seen the meme of dudes having a conversation while jumping around in Minecraft not doing anything? You've probably been there in Satisfactory as well. I know I have. And then I felt bad about not having accomplished anything. That's why Kibitz's advice is so good, I think. There's always something that can be done in this game, even if it's something that doesn't have an immediate impact. So like others said, you can go decorate a factory, or maybe you can use blueprints to help you harness some unused resources so your future self can thank your past self. Or work on a belt road, train track, or vehicle road that spans across 2 distant factories so you can do worldwide logistics later on. Even if what you choose to do doesn't contribute directly to your current goals or projects, just do something. Don't sit there spinning your wheels wondering how you should spend your time. You can even help this along by creating a list of your top 5 priorities. That way, if your power project and your aluminum factory just aren't doing it for you, you can go work on a water pipeline. If you don't make this list, then you kind of run the risk of just spinning your wheels and not doing anything. It's really important to document what you think is important to do in the game. And I'm going to end the video on that note, and with more well wishes for your next Satisfactory session. If you love this game but feel unmotivated and burnt out more often than you'd like, I hope some of this advice helped you. Thanks again to all my fellow Satisfactory players in the Coffee Cup Discord server who shared their tips and stories with me, and I hope to see some more of you in there if you want to help with your next project or just want to chat. Again, that is discord.gg/coffeecupstudios, and you can join the Satisfactory News channel to hang out with me and everybody else. Thank you so much for watching the video, and again, I hope it helped.